All right, let's go. All right. We're sitting here Sunday morning. Now, Tim, a lot of people out there admire teams that are out of the playoffs, and they think, oh, well, they're out of the playoffs, and they don't quit, and they keep right on playing.
Yeah, and they're winning, like Vancouver.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, Vancouver, remember they won 10 games in a row.
Last year with Bruce came in.
Yeah, Bruce came in. I've only been out of the playoffs once, and I never felt that way. We started to win, too, and I thought, I don't feel that way, and I'll tell you why I don't feel that way. When the pressure's off, they start playing well. I've seen it so far this year. As soon as they get close to making the playoffs,
go right back. Fade, yeah.
Anyhow, I don't feel that way.
Well, I remember one time in Boston, we were in a dogfight with Buffalo, because I don't think people really remember in the 70s how good Buffalo was.
Buffalo was really good.
And we were in a dogfight, and the Colorado...
Remember my first game, Tim, in Buffalo?
Your first game?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what the score was?
Yeah, what was it?
You lost 9-5, and Danny Gare got a hat trick. His rookie.
Little weak guy out there getting a hat trick, and I thought, what in the world's going on? I couldn't believe it, and I made the mistake of sitting at the back. I never
at the bus.
Yeah, and Jilly Gilbert, well, that's it, and that's to be for my average. And he's worried about his average, and I'm worried about if I'm gonna last a week. I didn't know what the heck was going on. Bing, bing, bing.
But in Buffalo, so like you were saying, we were always in a dogfight with Buffalo, and we needed a big game, and Colorado came into Boston.
Yeah, Colorado. I'll never forget this. I know what game you're talking about. I did not have the team ready. I figured it was 2 points for us. And so did the players think it was 2+, and Colorado beat us. And I remember Mike Christie. I don't know if anybody remembers Mike Christie. I remember having a stick in the air. I thought, these guys think they won the Stanley Cup. They beat us. He beat the Boston Bruins in the Boston Bruins. And in those days, they had to go by the bench, believe it or not.
Yeah, the visiting team had to leave right by the Bruins bench.
Yeah. And everybody went in, and I was just furious. And where were you? Where were you guys when it really counted in November? And not one guy looked back at me. I must have been nuts back in those days.
So, Dad, let's talk about Calgary. I mean, everybody been kind of on Sutter. The fans have been on Sutter. So have some of the players. Remember the agent?
Everybody's been on the Calgary. Yeah, it's Sutter's fault.
But listen, I this is just of all the stats in hockey right now, this is what I can't believe. The Flames are second in the league for the least amount of shots given up per game. So with like 27.3, only the Hurricanes, which is maybe the best defensive team in the league, have given up less average left shots. And the Leafs are second in the league for the most shots per game, where they average 35 shots or more per game. So
they outshoot the team. It's quite evident what the problem is, and the problem is their goaltender.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is too is that they're getting a lot of shots and they're not scoring. So,
yeah, I don't know why that is.
But I'll tell you one thing, that you and I were talking. If Calgary sneaks into the playoffs,
I'd hate to play them because they got nothing to lose.
Right. All they got to do is win one round. They got enough firepower.
And they do have firepower too.
Right. And they play a tough game where you don't get a lot of shots on net. So
that's built, to me, that team, and I think you and I were sitting before the game, that team is built for the dump in and get in the corners.
Right.
And they don't.
Right.
But they still get the shots.
And Sutter's done this before. Remember when he coached L.A., he got in the last day of the season, he got in with the Kings, and then he ran it and then won Stanley Cup. So Sutter's been down this road before.
He doesn't seem to be too upset after the games, which kind of be. I always tune in to watch his press conferences because they're usually pretty good, but he doesn't seem too upset.
Yeah. So Florida, Dad, they go from last year winning the
Boy, I
best. They
thought
were the
they
best
didn't-
team, and now they're struggling to make the playoffs.
I don't know what happened to them. That's one team I can't figure out.
Did you
is
see
Florida.
Paul Maurice go crazy on the bench
Yeah,
in
he-
Toronto?
You don't go crazy on the bench on the whole team because there are guys on that team that are really trying. So if they get in there, they'll be tough too. But not as tough as Calgary. Calgary, I'd hate to play Calgary in that first round if they get in. Well, it's the same thing as Vancouver. Vancouver, they starting to win now. They look like $1 million, but they did the same thing last year to Bruce.
Yeah, we were saying
They won 10. What they won 10 straight?
something like 10.
Well, what they say, Bruce?
They were going, Bruce, there it is, that song. Oops,
Yeah.
there it is, yeah.
Rick has to make them think that they're out of the playoffs all the time.
That's right. So next year, Rick's going to say, we're out of the playoffs. Rick Talkin's going to say, we're out of the playoff, guys. We're not going to make it, and they'll tear up the
They start
league.
playing well again. Well, they're playing well now.
So Cindy's taking a day off today, Dad. She's down in Kingston. But we'd like to thank our sponsor.
Why did she go down there so much, Tim?
I don't know. She likes Kingston. Well, she's Uncle Rich. And,
See Uncle Rich, yeah.
And
I know if
Bev
she-
and Bev Price and a lot of the people. Because Cindy lived there, right?
Yeah, she lived there a long time.
When she was going to school, she went to St. Lawrence College. So
Yeah.
she saw the twins the other day and everything like that. So she's got lots of friends. But we'd like to thank our sponsor, Spread.ca. They're a Canadian-owned online casino and sportsbook. And if you sign up now and use the promo GRAPES, they'll match your deposit up to $500. You get 10 spins on the big wheel for some big money, and your first sports bet, they'll spot you $25. So, but the playoffs just around the corner. It's a lot of fun to put a little bit of money on who you think's going to win. And Dad, I just want to
Who do you think's going to win Wednesday, Tim?
between
Between Jets and Flames.
I think Calgary's going to sneak into the playoffs. I do. I just have a feeling that they're going to get in, and then they might do some damage.
They'll beat Winnipeg, eh?
I think so. Yeah. I don't know what happened to Winnipeg. Remember, they were at the top of their
they
thing.
were last year.
Even this year they were really doing well. I don't know what happened to them. It's the same thing happened last year. They play well and then they start to die. But before we get going, Dad, I want to remind everybody that first of all, that the CHL playoffs are on. So
Yeah, and they'd never know it from the television.
You don't see it in the newspaper. You don't watch it on Sportsnet, TSN, Hockey Night in Canada.
Well, you watch Bedard.
They have one thing with Bedard, but also for the people in Toronto on Monday. This is Sunday morning. On Monday, April 3rd at 7:30 at the Mattamy Center, which was the old Maple Leaf Gardens, is the OHL Cup final between the Vaughan Kings and the Junior Canadians.
Remember,
And if
we
you
used
want,
to pack them in there.
and if you want to see some good hockey, and want to see some guys who are going to be in the NHL in a few years, you go down and check that out. So thought we'd give them a shout because they don't get much publicity in Toronto at all. So, Dad, Blue Jays have started. You're a big baseball fan.
Oh, I am. I'm a baseball fan. And Blue Jays, I won't miss a game. Now, I'd like to a few rules to see if you like them, Tim.
Yeah, they've changed them.
All right. 2 infielders on either. Well, like the
They can't put the shift on.
I can't put the shift on. Do you like that?
Yeah. What
I
about
like
you?
that. I'd like that. Base sides gone from the 18 inches to the 15 inches.
That's the one thing I did kind of notice. I do because I like to see, makes more exciting.
But they're not stealing anything anymore.
No, it doesn't seem like it, does it?
No. The pitch clock is 15 seconds, and if there's a guy on, if there was a runner on, it goes to 20 seconds.
Yeah, I like that. What do you think?
I don't see any difference in it. I'm happy that they're speeding it up a little.
Yeah, because it went down. Like, what was how much of the game's gone down in the preseason?
Went from way over 3 hours. I mean, some of the guys used to walk around and walk in the back of the referees and tighten their gloves up and everything. Went from 3 hours down to 2 hours and 30 minutes. It's supposed to be. But not that first game. Not that first game with the Blue Jays, remember?
Well, yeah, but what was the score?
No.
10-9 or something like that.
Extra innings, they start at second base. Do you like that?
No.
I like it.
I think it cheapens it a little bit. I think, you know what I make that equivalent to? It's the equivalent of a shootout.
Yeah.
But it is. But sometimes the games do go on too long.
yeah,
like
yeah.
you go down to the game and you're looking for the exits and all that.
Yeah.
So
A lot of people walking in the corridors.
yeah. So Dad, we talked a little bit last week about your thing that drives you nuts is icings, right?
Oh yeah. Now give us the icings, Tim.
So going into the weekend in the NHL so far, there's been 9,376 icings, not including this week.
9,000.
9,000.
I believe that. I believe that one. And which team does it the most?
Pittsburgh ices it the most, and St. Louis ices it the least. And then I went to see which team has gone offside the most.
Oh, I don't know that one.
So which team do you think has gone offside the most?
I don't know.
The New York Rangers.
Well, they got a fast club.
They went offside 172 times this year. And again, the team that ices the puck the least is the team that goes offside the least, the St. Louis. So that they went offside 123 times. But tell the story about your thing about not going offside.
You know, there's a funny thing. I meant it sincerely, and he thought it was. Everybody thought it was funny. I said, "Don't go offside. I don't want you to go offside." And when Orr's got the puck, and I thought that was pretty good, and everybody thought that was funny. I didn't think it was funny.
Yeah, you meant it.
I meant it. And everybody thought I was kidding, and it wasn't, because Bobby used to make that little move at center ice, and they go offside, and everybody'd be happy. We never did go offside when Bobby they'd straddle the blue line.
Yeah, because there's some things, like I remember watching, Bobby used to do it a couple of times, and you see it in the league a lot, and I don't understand it. You have a guy with the puck, and he's roaring up the ice, going 100 miles an hour, and he passes it to some guy standing at the blue line.
Well, Phil Esposito, he used to give it to Phil Esposito, and I said to Vad one day, I said, "Why does Bobby give the puck? Why does he slow down?" But Bobby used to be going 90 miles an hour, and I mentioned that to Bobby one time, and he got mad at me. But I thought I could never figure that one out. I could never figure it out.
So, Dad, I got a couple questions. Playoffs are coming up, and I look at the Bruins the other day.
There's something about those Bruins I don't like, Tim.
They won. They beat Pittsburgh. Pasternak got his goal. Phil's got more goals in the history of the Bruins and Pasternak, and their coach is still switching back and forth with goalies. Keefe with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
They got two good goalies.
Yeah, are switching back and forth with goalies. And you had two good goalies. You had Gilbert and Cheevers. When do you start? Would you start resting your number one goalie with 5 games left, or would you start playing Cheevers?
No, I keep them. I kept everybody in the game. I did that my first year. I used to let guys take off. I had them come down day of the game, and if they were going to play, they'd come down, fix their sticks, and keep right in that groove. Keep everything's going. I'd tell them to go off the ice early. But the game-wise, did you play, let's say there was 4 games left, and you knew Cheevers was going to start the first game. Would you play Cheevers, or would you... No, I'd play Cheevers.
You wouldn't put Gilbert?
Well, maybe I made a mistake. I don't know, but we were pretty good in the playoffs.
Yeah, because when Cheevers and Gilbert were your number one things, we talked about this yesterday, very rarely did they all both played about 40 games. No goalie really took the brunt of the games.
No.
Where Hellebuck, he's played 60 games this year.
Yeah, 60 games. That's a little, just the wee Hellebuck's a little, he's got to win.
Yeah, that's the thing, I guess,
he's got to win. So, and he's the best goaltender, so you put him in.
So what do you mean, Dad, about the Bruins? It's not that you don't like the team. It's just that there's...
Oh, I love the team, but it's just that they get every break in the world. I mean, Pasternak, I'm not knocking Pasternak because he's a goal scorer. He's like Matthews, but every shot, bouncing in off the posts. And,
yeah, the only thing I look with the Bruins, and you and I have talked about it, they've never really, they're not battle hardened.
No, they everything is so nice for them.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable how they win. There's something about them that bothers me. Yeah. I don't know what it is, and I can't tell you.
It's not. As you're saying, it's not the team that bothers you. It's just that they haven't they really haven't gone into a rut. They haven't fought their way out of a slump or anything like
Nothing.
that.
You got to fight your way out of a slump. That's the sign of a club that can fight their way out of a slump, and things are hard. Everything has gone right for them, and I don't know, boy, in the playoffs, things are a little different.
Right. And let me ask you this: what the Leaf fans want to know, because they're going back, who would you start?
Oh, I'd start Murray.
Would you?
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, you're paying him all that dough. He's making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you got to start him. I will.
Yeah, that Samsonov, though, he's been playing pretty good.
I know that's the problem. You got that one guy, and he never loses. Nope. And
because as you say, there's a team like we talk about Calgary. They're always out shooting and losing. The Leafs are the other way. The Leafs again got outshot last night and won, and the goalie got a shutout. And they, I bet you they've been outshot the last 10 games. They've been outshot more than they've outshot the other team.
Well, you're asking me, Tim. I'd start Murray. That's who I'd start in the playoffs.
Yeah, and then the other thing too, Dad, that you said was the most important thing that I don't see. That what I see Keefe's kind of messing around with is the defense pairing. You always said you got to have the same defense pair.
I even had them rooming together. When they played together, I had them rooming together. They get up in the morning at the same time and rooming together. But they did room together, and they were always together all the time. And I never switched around. I never switched around the defense because you got to throw it blind, as they say. Throw it blind, and the guy will be there. I just don't understand them switching around defense. But when you got a young defense like they've got,
I remember after practice in Boston, because you had a lot of times Gary Doker and Ricky Smith together, and they would spend, so you do the practice, and they would spend 20 minutes, a half hour, just passing the puck in, like passing the puck to each other behind the net, just back and forth. They must have passed the puck 100 times.
Well, I could go on even better. It was Daryl Sly and I. You put Daryl Sly and I together. I used to get the puck, and usually he's the left-hand draw. He'd come back to me. I'd put it right over to Sly, and boy, he had great pins. He could really go, and I roomed with him too. So I learned a lot from the coaches that I played for.
So of all the coaches, Dad, who was the smartest coach you played for?
The smartest coach I ever played for was Punch Imlach. This was before Punch became a celebrity in Toronto. And he was at Springfield, and I played for him. And I remember I went in to sign my contract with him too. I walked in, and I remember I sat down, and he said, "Here's your contract." And I looked at it, and I went to sign it. And he said, "Don't you want some more money?" And I said, "Are you going to give me more money?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Well, what's the sense arguing with you for?" Yeah, we'll be coming down the playoffs pretty soon, and Punch Imlach was the smartest guy I ever had. And I remember one time, he had a poker game. He knew we liked to play poker. He said, "Okay, we're going to have a poker game this night." I remember it was in Cleveland. And every guy was in, and he had a couple of beers, for a couple of guys, and they'd be playing poker. He used to count cards.
Was he? He was counting.
Yeah, he was smart enough. He used to count cards. Like if it was an ace, he'd count the aces, and we didn't play that way.
So you guys playing blackjack?
Yeah, playing blackjack. He used to count the aces and everything. Unfair. Anyhow, he used to win the money, and then he had us in. And I thought after, son of a gun, he had us all in night before a game. He knew where we were. We all went to, we all went to bed afterwards. He played cards till about 12 o'clock. And it was too late to go then. No, I never went out. And, when I was with the Boston Bruins, I never, ever checked on them. I used to tell them after the game, don't do anything in the hotels. And they were pretty good. They never did any, in 5 years, they only broke one door. That was at a training camp, and that was the Rochester Americans did it. And I used to say, don't do anything in the hotel, because then it'll come back on me. They'll all be in the bus, and they'll all be sitting there. I would not get on the bus first. I would wait till everybody was on. I remember one time Terry slept in, and somehow or other we left without him. I don't know how we did that. And Cash come up and he says, "Terry's not on the bus." So it's okay. And we had all the reporters on the bus too. I said, okay, we're going back to get him. And sure enough, here he was standing there with his bag ready to get on the bus. He knew I wouldn't leave him.
You know the one thing though with that though, Dad, I got to tell you, if that happened today and there was reporters on the bus, it would have got out. Like, but the Boston reporters knew enough not to say anything.
Well, he make me here look like a hero, but they knew enough not to say anything, and they wouldn't say anything, or we could have missed the plane. And not a word was said, and everything. And there was Terry standing there. I remember standing there waiting. He knew I'd never leave him, and that's the way we were with the Boston Bruins. We were one for all, and we're all for one.